All right, let's jump right in. There's this weird paradox in the business world, right? We have all this pressure that's supposed to drive amazing results. But sometimes that very same pressure is what ends up shattering a company's most important asset, its people. And that really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. Is all that stress just the unavoidable cost of doing business, the price of success? Or is it actually the very thing that's holding us back from being truly great? I mean, we've all felt it, right? That feeling of being completely swamped, the pressure building up. But here's the thing. If we're actually going to solve it, we have to look past the surface stuff. We need to understand the real mechanics of what's going on under the hood. So let's start with the stuff we all recognize. When I say workplace stress, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Yep, you're probably thinking about things like a difficult boss, those crazy long hours, the constant worry about layoffs, or just not knowing what you're supposed to be doing. And you'd be right. These are the classic culprits, and they are all totally real, totally valid stressors. But, and this is a big but, what if those things aren't the actual root cause? What if they're just the symptoms of a much deeper, more predictable system that's at play? Let's explore that. To really get our heads around stress, we have to stop thinking of it as just a bad feeling. Think of it more like an equation, a balancing act. On one side, you have everything being asked of you, and on the other, you have everything you've been given to handle it. Now, organizational psychologists have a name for this. The Job Demands Resources Model, or JDR for short. It's a really powerful way of looking at any job as a mix of demands that drain your battery and resources that recharge it. And this is where it gets really interesting. On one side, you've got the demands, the costs, things like a frantic work pace, really complex decisions, or having to be on all day for customers. But then on the other side, you've got the resources. These are your buffers, things like autonomy, having a great team that's got your back, and real opportunities to learn and grow. And this right here, this is the absolute key. Get this, stress isn't just about having high demands. No way. Stress skyrockets when demands are high and resources are low. It's the imbalance that crushes you. A huge workload is tough, for sure, but it's manageable if you have a supportive manager. Take away that support, and that tough job becomes a debilitating one. Speaking of that supportive manager, that brings us to our next point perfectly. We all intuitively know our boss can make or break our job experience. Well, there's a specific theory that explains exactly why that one relationship is so critical. It's called Leader-Member Exchange Theory, or LMX. And the idea is actually pretty simple, but it's a total game changer. It basically says that managers don't just have one leadership style. Instead, they build a totally unique one-on-one relationship with every single person on their team. And these relationships tend to sort people into two groups. First, you have the in-group. This is a high-quality relationship built on trust and respect. These folks get more mentorship, more resources, and they feel safe to speak their minds. But then there's the out-group. This relationship is purely transactional. It's cold. Communication is minimal, support is lacking, and this is an absolute breeding ground for resentment and stress. So, does all this academic theory actually matter in the real world? Oh, you bet it does. Let's take a look at how two massive companies, Lululemon and Nike, deal with this exact pressure cooker. Okay, check this out. At Lululemon, the job demands are intense. Employees are expected to literally embody the brand's lifestyle. That's a huge amount of emotional labor. They try to balance that with resources like a strong team community. But it all hinges on the LMX factor. A great store manager builds that in-group feeling, and it all works. A bad one, the demands become totally oppressive. Now, look at Nike. The demands there are legendary. Long hours, intense competition. For years, the main resource was just the prestige of the brand. But after reports of a toxic boys' club culture, a classic out-group problem, they had to strategically invest in new resources, like mental health breaks, to rebalance the whole equation. So the big takeaway here is clear. Proactively managing this stress equation isn't some fluffy, soft skill. As Nike learned, it is a hard, strategic, bottom-line business necessity. So how can we actually apply all this? It really boils down to 3 core principles for any leader out there.
First up, principle number 1.
You have to remember that stress is an equation. A leader's job often isn't about eliminating demands. That's just work. The real job is to build up the other side of the equation. You do that by providing resources like autonomy, feedback, and genuine support. It's all about balancing the scales.
The second key principle.
Leadership is local. You know, those big corporate wellness programs are fine, but the single most powerful factor in an employee's daily stress is the quality of their one-on-one relationship with their direct manager. That high-quality LMX, that in-group feeling, is the ultimate resource. And finally, number 3. See, that conflict is almost always a symptom, not the disease itself. So when you see persistent conflict, don't just blame it on a personality clash. Look deeper. Look for the root cause in the system. Is there role ambiguity, perceived unfairness, or are the demands just completely overwhelming the resources? And that leaves us with one final big question for the future. As work becomes more and more hybrid, the challenge shifts. How do we apply these principles to build those high-trust, high-resource relationships when we're not even in the same room? That right there is the next great leadership challenge.